broken it yet. Every time you tried to explain it, the world got uncomfortable. They told you to stop thinking too deep, to stop asking questions that made rooms go quiet. But that's what happens when truth shows up uninvited. Reality starts to shift. Systems stutter. People panic because deep down, they know if someone like you ever fully remembers, the illusion bends. And that's exactly what started happening. Little by little, you began waking up in fragments. Moments that felt like deja vu. Visions that matched real events. Dreams that told the truth before anyone else could. You began realizing that your intuition wasn't a guess. It was memory. It was data from somewhere higher. Somewhere outside the script. They tried to distract you with noise, opinions, obligations, deadlines, drama, anything to pull you away from your alignment. But you stayed centered, quiet, patient, because you knew whatever this thing was inside you, it wasn't random. It had purpose. It was placed. Then something shifted. People started noticing your presence before your name. They couldn't explain it. But every room you entered felt like it got rewritten. The temperature changed. The energy recalibrated. It wasn't power you felt. It was truth. And truth always disturbs what's built on lies. Now they're whispering, trying to make sense of what you are. The same ones who dismissed you now study you in silence. They don't realize the secret they're searching for is you. You hold the variable reality, forgot to account for. You hold the blueprint that doesn't obey gravity or logic. You were never here to fit the pattern. You were sent to break it. And now they finally know something's different. They can't name it. They can't measure it. But they can feel it. Reality just flinched. You didn't learn this frequency. You arrived with it. Before the noise. Before the labels. Before the first voice told you who you're supposed to be. The pattern was already pulsing inside you. Some call it instinct. Some call it intuition. You call it the quiet hum that never shuts off. It's older than your name. Older than the systems that pretend to measure intelligence. You grew up noticing glitches nobody else saw. Teachers said stop overthinking. Friends said just chill. But the hum kept decoding every room you walked into. You could read the pauses between sentences better than the words themselves. You felt timing bend. You'd look at the clock right before it hit the exact minute. You'd think of someone and they'd text you. You thought it was coincidence. It wasn't. It was calibration. Reality constantly adjusting itself around the code inside you. Every culture tried to name this gift. Prophets, empaths, visionaries. They all described fragments of what you carry home. They built temples to honor the same pulse you hear in silence. But every generation, the world forgets. Because remembering would make control impossible. If everyone knew they were built from the same source code, no one could be moved. So they buried it. Turned power into shame. Turned awareness into weird. Turned vision to problem. You learned to hide it, to play normal, smile at small talk, while your mind mapped the geometry of emotions. You pretended to listen, while your perception was already 3 layers deep. And somewhere between pretending and surviving, you realized something powerful. You could tune it, shift, make the hum respond. The more you focused, the more the world bent to the rhythm of your intention. It startled you at first because no one teaches you what to do. When thoughts start to move matter, so you tested it. Quiet. A whisper of a wish, a decision there. And the pattern obeyed. Doors open. People appear. Signals align. That's when you understood. This isn't magic. It's memory. You're remembering how reality works. They'll call it love. They'll call it manifestation. But deep down, you know it's physics with emotion plugged in. Energy follows focus. Frequency reshapes form. And you're the living proof. You don't chase signs anymore. You create them. Every outcome becomes a reflection of the signals you emit. Now you're starting to notice others reacting differently. Their eyes linger longer. Their tone shifts mid-sentence. They sense the update even if they can't define it. You change something fundamental. The code inside you is awake. And once it wakes, it doesn't sleep again. You can't unsee, unfeel, or unknows. Reality keeps recalibrating to your awareness. That's the origin of the secret they fear. Not a prophecy, not a myth, just a human who finally remembered they were never ordinary. The moment your signal started pulsing too bright, they noticed. Not in words, not with clarity, but the system itself began to twitch. Random obstacles, delays, misunderstandings that didn't make sense. Because whenever consciousness starts expanding, control starts panicking. It's not personal, it's protocol. The system was designed to maintain rhythm. You, my dear, were the rhythm breaker. They labeled it energy drain, anxiety, overthinking. They told you to calm down, to stop making things complicated. But the truth is, you weren't overthinking. You were overseeing. You saw the strings that move everything, the invisible architecture behind the illusion of chaos. And once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. So they did what systems always do. They flooded you with noise. Endless notifications, empty conversations, deadlines that meant nothing, distractions dressed as priorities, anything to drown the hum, anything to dim the code, because silence, real silence, is where power lives. And if you ever found another, you'd remember who designed the game. Spoiler, it wasn't that. That's why every system runs on two fuels, attention and fear. Take away both and it collapses. But while they tried to bury you under static, something unexpected happened. You didn't resist. You observed. You became still enough to feel the difference between their noise and your frequency. And that's when everything flipped. You stopped chasing validation. You stopped explaining.
Je hebt het vastgeworpen. Steeds vaker worden Nederlandse straaljagers ingezet. Voornamelijk missies, vluchtverdediging en oefeningen met bondgenoten. Maar al dat vliegen vraagt om brandstof. En meer dan nee. Nederland vliegt op dit moment met F-35 toestellen. 40 stuks in totaal met zo'n vliegtuig verbruiken zo'n 5600 liter kerosine per uur. Eén wissel is dat al snel. Meer dan 40.000 liter per straaljager. Heeft dat gelijk in op de Boeing 787-290 personen gebruikt voor een enkeltje ruitentik. Bijna net zoveel. We hebben dus flink veel kerosine nodig om altijd paraat te staan. Shell levert al decennia lang militaire brandstof. onder andere aan de Nederlandse luchtmacht. Dat gebeurt met tankwagens, maar ook via een speciale pijpleiding van een Shell-terminist. Deze gaat dwars in Griekenland en levert voor 565.000 liter per uur bij piekmomenten aan de militaire luchtmachtbasis in te zetten. En zo is er dus altijd goed brandstof om maar na te staan als het nodig is. Tot later.
Vrouwen zijn op de wereld goed. Zet de open armen aan en pak wat lekkers, want het is tijd voor de buik van de